Hey, so I'm trying something new. I'm out here in the wild. You can hear all the birds out here in nature. All right, so some folks have been asking questions, and I am gonna answer some of these questions. All right, let's see. Is it acceptable to count macros while trying to eat more raw? Essentially raw till 4. So I think, yeah, why not? Like, who's gonna say it's not acceptable? It's what works for you. What's your health goal? What makes sense for you? Is it acceptable to you, right? That's the thing. And in terms of counting macros, eating high raw, which basically is what this is, I've done this. Especially in my journey building muscle mass, decreasing body fat. For a period of time, I was counting macros. At times I counted macros just to see what was going on, especially when you start like 80-10-10. Those are macro numbers, right? So 80-10-10 is 80% of your calories coming from carbs, 10% from fat, 10% from protein, coined by Dr. Doug Graham. He has a book on that, 80-10-10. And even like when you're experimenting with different stuff, I've experimented with like bodybuilder programs where the distribution's a little different. 40% carb, like 30% protein, or 40% protein, 30% carb, and 30% fat, right? But you absolutely can count macros. And I actually have a meal plan that you could use that has all that information there. You can use MyFitnessPal, you can use Chronometer. Any of these trackers can count macros for you. Do raw vegans typically follow an 80-10-10 diet? Not all raw vegans do. I had some folks on my summit who follow more of a high protein, high fat because it works for them. So you gotta just find what works for you. And actually, Daniel McKinnon, he's mentioned to me that higher fat helps him stay raw, 100% raw. And he's been 100% raw for almost 20 years. And for me, eating high raw has helped me stay eating high raw. You just being 100% raw, you have some of the, I guess, the cravings and things, and to mitigate those cravings of satiety, of just feeling like heavier, for me it works better high raw than to eat more fat, because literally it doesn't matter if it's raw or cooked or whatever, having more than 10% fat, like I have physical pain in my stomach. So you have to find what works for you. That's why I love coaching, because coaching is not about me telling you what to do. It's about you finding your own way. How's your body responding to the foods that you're eating? Is what you're doing helping you get to your goal? Okay, would the 80-10-10 diet also apply to someone who eats cooked vegan meals, such as only for dinner? Yeah, so 80-10-10 applies to any way. If you want to do 100% cooked, high raw, or 100% raw, it doesn't matter. The 80-10-10 basically stands for 80% carb, 10% fat, 10% protein. Number 4, should the macro count change if one consumes both raw and cooked vegan foods? Again, not necessarily. This really depends on you and how your body is responding and what are your goals. So I'll keep reiterating that. It really depends. What are your goals? Though that's really, and how does your body respond? Some people do better high carb and they release excess fat. They have very little cravings. They're able to sustain it. All these things matter. Some people, they need more protein in order to sustain it. So, and in order to get their goal. It's so wild being out here shooting this video and like truckers going by, like looking me like right in the face, like they're walking, their heads are going like, Okay, let's see. How can the fat intake be reduced, especially when already on the higher end? Well, typically how we reduce fat is by loading up and getting full on more greens. That's basically it. So like I practice as a coach, as an integrative nutrition coach, crowding out, right? So instead of focusing on what you're eliminating, you want to crowd it out with what you're adding in. Just making sure that you're staying full, drinking more water, and you can stay full without adding calories, eating more greens. Okay, given that the Vitamix is allowed for early morning use in an apartment and in a household, because I share a household with my husband and my mother-in-law, and they do not wake up the same time I do. My body wakes up at like 5:30. I'm ready for breakfast by 6, like hungry. I want breakfast by 6. It doesn't matter what time I've eaten the day before. I am voracious in the morning, right? And so I totally get this. I understand the struggle. What can be eaten before 5 a.m. gym workout? So some people work out fasted and that really helps them. But if you have discovered that you need to have something, then I typically just eat a banana. It's very quiet. You could have an apple. Typically bananas are good. Coconut water has electrolytes and it has sugars. And I've been doing raw vegan oatmeal where I put these fruits in a food processor. I have a recipe with almonds, lemon juice, apples, or sometimes I use pear, cinnamon. Anyway, I put these things in a food processor and I just pulse it. It doesn't make as much noise as the Vitamix blender, and I make myself that raw vegan oatmeal like I have been for like every morning for the past, I don't know, few weeks, just because I got tired of smoothies and just wanted to do something different. And yeah, so I have that before I go to the gym. How does chia pudding impact daily fat intake? This is interesting. I don't eat chia pudding, so I don't know, but you can work it out by putting in your daily food consumption into MyFitnessPal. You can even put in your own recipes into MyFitnessPal, and you'll get the whole breakdown, the whole macro breakdown, and see how it's affecting your calories, your macros, and all of this without even having it. So whatever the recipe is, you just put it in and into your food journal, because you could always delete it, but just so you could get the numbers to see beforehand before you do anything how it's going to impact. That's what I would highly recommend to do. And then if you really like chia pudding, it doesn't mean you have to eliminate it. You just have to maybe portion control it to keep the fat levels down. Because honestly, when it comes to fat, like I said, when I have too much fat, I have physical pain in my stomach. So like when it comes to sprouted almonds, I love sprouted almonds. It tastes so good, but I have to portion control that. So I have these little dishes that I will like pour a little bit in if I want like a little snack, and I just have that. Like I know if I go over that and I go crazy, I'm gonna have physical pain. So all right, and this is the last one. How can I better control over macros be achieved when following this type of diet? How can better control over macros be achieved? Yeah, so control over macros really has to do with the simplicity. So you put in what you're gonna eat into MyFitnessPal or whatever it is you're using. I use MyFitnessPal because especially if you're just looking at macros, these birds, you don't really need to do chronometer because MyFitnessPal is sufficient, and all of this is estimations, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't have to be crazy about it down to the wire, but you put it in MyFitnessPal, you plan out your meals in advance, and you stay really simple. Like for the past week, I've been having for breakfast the same raw vegan oatmeal. It's the same recipe every time. Before that, I was having the same smoothie every day. I rotate my fruits and vegetables to get a wide range of minerals and vitamins and nutrients. But that doesn't happen on a daily basis. It happens like once a week, or as I'm going grocery shopping, what's available, and that's dictated. I'm eating the same thing every day until I run out of a thing, and then I have to come up with something else, or like I get tired of it or whatever, right? So you already know in advance what you're gonna have, and that's basically how you control your macros. You stick to it. It's not like every day you're like, oh, what am I gonna eat today? I mean, on the weekends you might be like, oh, I have time, I want to play around with making a new recipe or whatever, but you don't need to do this mental gymnastics every day. You want to just not have your whole life be revolved around food, and and just enjoy what you're eating, have it dialed down. And yeah, so that would be my recommendation for you. I forgot to mention, download my healthy digestion recipe book. You'll have a lot of great recipes you could try to use raw foods to help to diversify the gut microbiome, right? A healthy gut, the foods that we're eating anyway in the raw food realm, in the high raw realm, are great for the gut. But this meal plan in particular, I put together for folks who feel like, what am I going to eat during the wintertime? Like, the food should be so good that regardless of the outdoor temperature or weather, it doesn't change how you feel about the foods that you're eating. So that's what this meal plan is really looking to do. You can email me to let me know if I was successful in that or not. I do plan to add on to it to keep y'all full through the whole winter season, okay? Full and satisfied, that's the goal. So download it. The link for that is in the description to this video, audio, wherever it is you're getting this information.